My history with the lake began with Measure DD, the bond measure that funded a lot of improvements at the lake. And that's when I really got to know the lake. When we completed our first projects here along Lakeshore Avenue, it became clear that after the 1-year period that the contractor was responsible for maintaining all the improvements, that there would be not enough city staff or resources to continue the maintenance. So Jennie, Gerard, and I co-founded the Merritt Weed Warriors as a volunteer group that would help Public Works maintain the new Measure DD improvements.
We started convening in December of 2010. That was the time of our first meeting. So we're launching our 12th year this year, 2022. We're modeled after the Morecambe Rose Garden deadheaders, and they meet regularly to supplement the work of the Public Works Agency as it tries to maintain those 4,000 rose bushes. So we saw that as a good model, and that December 2010 we decided, let's get started. We'll just meet once a month, in the last Saturday of the month. And we've been doing that now year in and year out, except for our pause during the pandemic. And
sort of in addition to providing actual help with the physical work, the other idea was to introduce volunteers and people from the community to the lake and let them get a feel for exactly how much work it is to maintain the landscape at the lake. It's not always obvious when you're just strolling around and you see a gardener working here and there. There's actually how much physical labor is involved with maintaining a park. And so by having people work hands-on just once a month, a few hours at a time, they get a real feel for, it's a lot of work.
The Measure DD funded improvements had been in for a few years, and we could see that the city did not have enough parks maintenance staff to take care of all of these new landscaped areas. So our idea was we will supplement the gardening staff of Public Works in helping to maintain these newly planted landscape beds funded by Measure DD, which
the need for public support for maintenance is important. And so as people got to see how much work it actually it required, then they could help advocate with City Council and other funding sources to make sure that the lake gets the resources it needs. For a lake this size, the park's about 90 acres total, including the little peripheral parks around the lake. There should be about at least a dozen full-time people working just based on national standards for park maintenance. And at the time, we had about 1.5 employees assigned to the lake. So there's a great need, and as an example of what the Merritt Weed Warriors could do is that when a measure came up, a parcel tax that included funding for parks, they were strong advocates and helped organize the wider community and also lobby City Council and try to get that parcel tax passed. And they were very successful, and that was passed, which has added funding to maintenance for parks citywide and including Merritt. That's just coming into effect now. They're just hiring people. So we really haven't seen much on the ground yet, but we're hoping soon to get the extra resources here that we need.
The Weed Warriors is set up to supplement what Oakland Public Works Agency does. And the Oakland Public Works Agency provides us with tools, tarps that we load all the weeds on and all the prune clippings, and then we put them into a pickup truck and they take those away and compost them. So they provide the tools, and today we'll be spreading mulch on the beds here once we've weeded them, and that mulch is something that they provide for us.
We established an email list. We have signage. You can see behind me. People running around the lake will stop and ask what we're up to. We've got a QR code. They can go to a website and find out when we're meeting. We've got a Facebook page which we keep updated and let people know. We've got a big email list that we've expanded over the years. Those are the main routes we've used. Well, on something like Earth Day, where there's a big organizing push citywide, we've had 50, 60, 70 people out here. Typically, it's more like, I think last month we had 15. That's more normal. Yeah. We've got a real core of regulars that come, and then people come and go beyond that.
Right. And how do you decide which area to work on?
Typically, either Jennie or I will walk around the lake a couple of weeks before the time and see what needs doing. Jennie also confers with Public Works, see if they have a preference where they'd like to help. And so between the three parties, we get together and decide.
So we have a pretty basic communication. Every month I get in touch with the park supervisor and let her know the tools, where we'll be working and the tools we need. Every once in a while we do have larger groups that turn out. Sometimes we have high school students who are looking for community service opportunities. And then there are people who find us on our Facebook page, or one where they hear by word of mouth and they sort of drift in. That's wonderful. It's pretty organic. But every month we send out an announcement mid-month saying, here's the date, save the date, here's where we're going to be working. We look forward to seeing you then. And then a couple of days before, we send out another announcement saying, reminder, we'll be out here this Saturday, come at 9 o'clock. We work from 9 to noon that last Saturday of the month. And so people come and find us then.
Well, Public Works provides tools for us. They'll bring in hand mattocks, shovels, rakes, mulch, things like that. And I generally provide some refreshments, just make some coffee and get some juice and cookies to energize people halfway through.
Park itself?
Well, we were focused on the Measure DD improvements.
Right.
And Lakeside Park did not get landscape improvements from Measure DD. So we started here at the Embarcadero, around all the way up to Grant and Harrison would be the last spot, but typically up just past the Lake Chalet is where we work so far. Probably next year we'll begin doing the area up to Harrison, because the maintenance period for Snow Park and that stretch will run out this year. So the contractor will stop and it will be up to Public Works and the Weed Warriors to take that on. So the tidal marsh is considered part of Lake Merritt. We've worked there. We sort of have a subset of people that work down at the tidal marsh. It's focused on native plants, wetland plants that we put in there. So there's a group of people who have a particular interest in that. And so we've met down there from time to time. Yeah, I'm the leader of the tidal marsh pretty much. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to work there for the last, I'd say, 3 years due to campers that have sort of taken over that area, and it's no longer safe to work down there. Too many needles, human waste, garbage in the way, and it became unsafe for volunteers. So hopefully that'll change.
You're a weed whisperer.
We are weed whisperers. So right now what we're doing is preparing these rose beds by weeding them, now that we also prune the roses, but weeding around them and then spreading mulch to get them ready for the first rose bloom flush, which will take place at the end of May, anytime soon. So there'll be plenty of weeds for us to continue pulling, and we always welcome people to come out, whether it's one Saturday or every Weed Warrior Saturday.
All apart. Lake Merritt gets a lot of use. You know, it's the most heavily used park probably in the city, and that use and abuse takes a toll on the landscaping, so it needs constant maintenance.
some people have said, well, why doesn't the city do this work? And of course, part of the answer is there aren't enough staff to do this very detailed hand weeding. But the other value of volunteer efforts, of which there are many around the lake doing various things like pulling trash out of the lake, is it builds a sense of stewardship among all of us who care about and love Lake Merritt, walk it, enjoy it, picnic here. And that sense of stewardship is so important for its long-term health and survival.